everyone.
Hello.
Touchnot here, the wildcat with the little wildcat, Benny. He just got out of school, right, Ben?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a Friday afternoon. It's a beautiful sunny afternoon in New England. Sun's coming through the white pines here. White pines, right, Ben?
Yeah.
I have a piece here that I wrote a few years ago. I adapted it to read to Ben. It's about what people in this hemisphere, at least, in my experience and in a long, long time ago in my imagination, what people do for the winter time to prepare this time of year. In the autumn, that's when they start thinking about things, preparation, preservation, right? Make sure they have enough food for the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's two parts, so we'll stop somewhere and start again at another time, a segment. All right? I'm going to call this the early people. Benny, you and I know what Halloween is and what people like you and I do to celebrate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Speak up a little when you say so. I would like to take some time now to tell you a story about that day. This story is quite different from the one we know, all about pumpkins and candy and spooks and Spider-Man costumes.
Mm-hmm.
We are not the first ones to live in our world. There were lots of others here before us. A long, long, very long time ago, there were some I'd like to call the early people, because they lived before us, right?
Yeah.
This was way before there were cars or phones or airplanes. Even before there was a clan of the Scottish Wildcat. They had horses and cattle and pets and homes and families. They were people just like you and I are. They smiled and laughed and danced. They farmed and fished and raised animals for their food. At this very same time every year, the early people had big gatherings, with many folks coming together in one place. They call this time the Samhain. Now we call this time Halloween, usually here in the USA.
Yeah.
This was called Samhain, or perhaps Samhain. The earlies believed in things we call spirits, which are the invisible ghosts of their ancestors. Not necessarily bad ones, though some might have been. The early people thought at this time of the year the spirits became close to us, closer than at any other time. Some people tried to talk to the spirits and ask them questions. Some people dressed in ways they thought would scare the spirits away. On Samhain, some wore masks and danced and made loud musical sounds. Sound familiar? Masks, right? They wore masks,
Oh.
like trick-or-treating in a way. They drove animals in long lines through the wind and smoke between huge fires to keep the bad spirits away from the animals. These were very hard-working people, Benny. From the very beginning of spring through the fall, they took care of their animals, families, and kept them well fed and safe. In the gardens near the homes, they grew things like beets and spinach. Far out in the fields, they grew grain to make flour for bread. Some had apple orchards and grapevines. During most of the year, their cattle, sheep, and horses ate grasses that grew wild. The Samhain festival marked the time for these early people to finish picking all their crops and all the fruit and drive the herds down from the hills closer to home for the winter. Later, when the cold winds blew and snow covered the ground, there would not be enough food for all the animals. So some of them would now be butchered for meat to be salted or smoked and put away for the winter to come when it's very, very cold. With the skins, the early people made boots, clothes, and even roofs and walls for their homes. The rest of the animals would be kept near, safe from the wolves, the wildcats, and the wind. The grains like oatmeal and carrots and onions could be stored in big baskets. Many times the house and the barn were both under a single roof. The body heat of the animals and people would help keep everyone warm. And of course there was a fire for cooking. Boy, it's nice out here, Benny, isn't it? All the leaves are rustling here, folks. It's nice out here. Pretty smart bunch, these earlies, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I will talk a little bit about today and what the kinds of things are that we do at this time of year. It's called fall or autumn here in New England, right? Right. Okay, so we still have a harvest, but it's not really the same. Most all our food comes to us in grocery stores. Farmers send it there in trucks and we go and trade it for money, right? Trade money for it. I'm pretty sure you've seen bacon and ham for breakfast.
Yeah.
Right. These are meat from a pig that has been smoked and salted, just as the early people would have done when the weather began to get cold in late October. Knowing the right time of year to do things is very important. Our year is just like a big wheel, Benny, always turning, always changing. Our lives are also like wheels in certain ways. Stick with me, I'll let you in on a lot of secrets. Let's see. Today some people still have a garden at their house, and a few have chickens. They might grow tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers. They might grow certain herbs for cooking. Your mom grows herbs, right? Rosemary and thyme sometimes. These are usually very pungent, which means strong flavored, so they can help the food last longer during the cold months. It's part of what herbs were used for originally. Grampy has a big vegetable garden, right? You've helped me plant things. Every year at my house, your meme makes zucchini relish, my mother's recipe. I also have berry bushes. And when and where I plant and my thoughts about what I do get written down in a notebook. I showed you that, I think. That's all there for you to read and use someday if you want to. I hope you will. I grow butternut squash and acorn squash, and in the fall, I pick them and bring them down to the cellar where the air is cool. I can bring one up and roast it for dinner anytime. Melted butter and salt and pepper. Telling you all about this makes me smile. Your great-grandpa Mac, my daddy, carried the carrots and beets from a garden down into our basement when I was a boy and buried them in a big crock of wet sand with the green sticking out. Then we'd go down and get them during the wintertime when we wanted carrots. He always did this when the maple trees had turned orange and red. He did a lot of other things to get our family ready for winter. He did things just at the right time. He looked at the world turning around him and moved with the changes. You see? In August, the last full month of summer, some people start to make cucumber pickles and relish. Some cook tomato sauce or salsa. I love that hot pepper salsa. It all goes into hot glass jars. Have you seen this done?
What?
Have you seen this done? Put it into hot jars. When I was a boy, I thought my mother might be some kind of a goddess who was always making sure her family is fed and smiling. I bet your mom would like you to hear you say that. That way you can make her smile too. You may find that making others smile will make you feel good too. All right, so most of this food will get stored away and used during the winter. Some of the pickles usually is given away as presents. Then in January, we can have blueberry pancakes because I freeze berries sometimes. While outside, the berry bushes are covered in snow. Pretty good, huh? Some people chop wood to heat their house, a lot of wood. They stack it where they can get to it even if the snow gets very deep. Isn't it a great feeling when you're inside in the wintertime, warm socks, your fingers curled up around a hot cup of cocoa,
Yeah.
your 3 cats peacefully napping away? Right? What are their names?
What?
What are their names?
Lucy, Squeaky, and Mary.
Lucy, Squeaky, and Mary. I get it right for once. Ugh. You and I know what hell. Oh. Getting off my course here, folks. One day your own children will learn by helping and listening, and you will smile a lot, I promise. That wheel keeps turning. I'm having loads of fun writing this for you. Can anyone else tell that? That's the end of part 1. We're gonna take a little hike somewhere down the trail here perhaps, and then we'll take a look at part 2 at some point. Thanks for being with us, folks.
Touch not.
Touch not.